G'day everybody, how's it going? I'm the Tchenovstok, and welcome back to Tchenovstok in episode 7. In today's episode, guys, we will be developing what's known as the entertainment district in town. So what this will encompass is a market like you're seeing on your screen right now. So it'll be loaded with all sorts of little shops and things like that. After that, we're going to get into, I'm going to build a little fairgrounds or a theme park. And, you know, you guys will probably guess this is totally based off the one in Chernobyl. But this one, I think, is going to be to a little bit of a bigger scale than what was in Chernobyl. I had some difficulty finding some pictures that really showed how the fairgrounds, or whatever you want to call it, was in Chernobyl. So I can't really base myself off of anything there, but either way, you will notice some very important landmarks in the city. Also in this entertainment district will be a nice theater, there'll be a nice nature park. I'm also going to place down a big hospital. It's going to be the biggest hospital in town. I know hospitals are not really the most entertaining places to be in, but at the same time, I was kind of going with the background thought that the hospital is one of the first buildings you see in town, and, you know, it's modern, it's big, it's glamorous. I mean, as much as a hospital can be, I guess. So there's that aspect of it, but the second part is it's very accessible. So it's right smack dab in the middle of the city. And yeah, I'm really not sure what I'm doing right now, guys. I'm just playing around with a whole bunch of different buildings and props and whatever. Giving me ideas of what I can build. Because a lot of things that I download on the workshop are just like, I kind of go by the thinking like, oh, that's cool, I could use that at some point, and I just end up accumulating a whole bunch of different things. But anyways, what I was saying is the hospital is like right smack dab in the middle of the city, and it's easily accessible from the entire region around it. So that's, I guess, the main reason why I placed this down. But don't forget too, like, Tchenovstok is a very rich city. Now, you guys may be thinking, oh, well, in the Soviet days, everybody was equal, right? Not really. Not 100%. So you had towns which were very poor. You had rich elite cities. So I suppose, like, to a certain degree, yes, everybody in a certain location was equal, but equality wasn't very prominent throughout, like, the entire Soviet Union. So what happens is you get cities like, I'm going back to Chernobyl. Chernobyl was like a very elite city. You know, you had, of course, like I was saying, very highly educated people and who had great jobs and things. So a lot of their citizens were, or like the cities often had luxuries that not all Soviet cities had. So of course, like in Chernobyl, you had this little theme park, and that was built as a gift to the citizens of Chernobyl for their production and providing for the USSR and whatnot. So I'm just trying to emulate this in Tchenovstok as well. So Tchenovstok is a very rich city. A lot of good big factories are around town. So to keep all the workers productive and happy and being able to provide to the community, well, a nice theme park was built and a nice market was built, and all of those little luxuries that not all citizens had access to back in those days. So I think it was pretty rare for these types of attractions to be like in such small cities. Now in this theme park, of course, we have, you know, just some basic rides. I think there's only like 2 or 3 rides that I placed down. We have like a carousel and a Ferris wheel and like a spinny ride. I'm not even sure what to call that. But, you know, in North America, where we're used to massive theme parks like Disney and whatnot, this was probably like unheard of for a lot of Soviet citizens back in the day. I'm imagining that anyways. Like I can't really place myself in anybody's shoes on how like the Soviet life went about, but I can only imagine, like, you know, a kid seeing a theme park for the first time in his life. I can only imagine how excited and amazed they would be. So yeah, Tchenovstok is a very, very nice place to live, guys. If you were born in the USSR in the 1960s and 70s, you know, Tchenovstok is the place to be. And here, so like most of the rides that you see me plop down are from the workshop. Well, I think they are all from the workshop. And what's cool is the carousel and like that spinny ride, they're animated. So you'll see during the cinematics at the end of this episode, they're going to be spinning, going around. So that's kind of cool. It gives life to the city. Unfortunately, the Ferris wheel is not animated. It's totally static. I kind of wish it was animated, you know? It would be kind of cool to see the old Chernobyl Ferris wheel running again. But I actually believe this is the Chernobyl Ferris wheel. I think that's what it's modeled after, which is kind of cool. And it's appropriately sized as well. There's a few other Ferris wheels that I had access to, either from the workshop or the vanilla one that comes from the amusement park pack in the game. But I just found that they were like massive compared to all the other rides, and they were like totally disproportionate. So I really like the size of this this Ferris wheel here. So yeah, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, guys, in this episode, going from one aspect of the entertainment district to the next. So I'm not totally done with the amusement park right now. I just kind of felt like moving on to something else real quick. So I'm going to be placing down a lot of like props and things and just beautifying the area. But you'll see at the end of this episode, guys, I'm actually really happy with the way this turned out. It's not the most like expansive project in town. I know like you can probably tell by this episode not being very long, and forgive me for that, guys. It's not that I'm lacking content, it's just this part of town is, I don't know, there's not a whole lot to it. I could have maybe gone a little bit more intense with the props and things, but nah, I didn't really feel like focusing too much on this part of town. But yeah, I really like the way it turned out. It's kind of cool because there's a lot of green area in this part of town, like in this district specifically, and it makes for a nice contrast because a lot of the city is like just pure pavement or sidewalks, and I guess this is kind of common in a lot of Soviet modern cities, where you have like these giant plazas, and it's almost as if they just show off their might and like their gloriousness to the world and all the citizens that live in them. So I like this little nature park here, and I just plopped down a whole bunch of trees in this area, and it creates a nice contrast apart from the rest of the map. Obviously, like in the residential zones, you have a lot of trees between the buildings, but nowhere do we have a nice nature park. It's not very big, though. It's pretty tiny, and I plopped like this giant monolith right in the middle of it. Not sure what it is, but it's a cool looking structure. And yeah, these two buildings here, I'm not really sure what they are. I guess they could be some sort of administrative buildings. They are residential in the game. I'm not sure if you would even find residential buildings in like an entertainment district like this, in a typical Soviet city, but I don't know. I just plopped them down as fillers, basically. Because one of the biggest struggles in the game right now is both commercial, for one. That's like the number one biggest struggle, but also residential. I don't know why, but I can just plop down as much residential as I want, but demand is just always through the roof. One other issue is industrial. So most of the Soviet buildings and props, well, not props, but buildings, they're just like pure industrial. And of course, like half the city is employed by industries, and that creates the issue that, you know, there's just not enough commercial, and it kind of screws up with the whole demand and how the city functions. But I guess I'm kind of limited to what kinds of buildings I can play with, so, you know, I can only do so much. But yeah, guys, we're pretty much getting to the end of this episode. You'll see some awesome cinematics that just show off this area really nicely. Next episode, I'm not too sure what we'll get into, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But until then, guys, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel for much more content just like this. And also consider checking out my Patreon page if you'd like another means of supporting the channel. So until the next episode, guys, please take care.